We are live. Hi, Facebook. What day is it? Happy Thursday. I'm really glad that my laptop always tells me what day it is because sometimes I'm still not, it's not happening. So I hope everyone is having a good week so far, hanging in there, keeping yourselves busy, enjoying the sunshine when you can. How's your week been so far, bud?
My week's been good. I can't complain, doing a lot of work and got outside today, so that was nice. And just doing the things. I'm now in a routine, so it's easy for me now. It's becoming easier, I guess. How about you?
Yeah, same thing. Just doing quite a lot of work. Did a training today, which was really good, very educational, and yeah, just kind of same thing, keeping that routine. It's been something that's been really helpful to kind of keep me on a forward moving path. I notice the days I don't have a routine, I'm kind of all over the place and feeling a little more spastic than normal, but it's good. Hey, Marilyn. Marilyn says high fives. I'll give you virtual high fives. Marilyn's been outside all day, training and self-motivating. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a beautiful day to be outside. Absolutely. So I hope everyone gets to enjoy a little bit of that sunshine today. So Keirstan and I were going to talk about fun and recovery today. We really wanted to kind of keep things lighthearted. We know there's a lot going on in the world right now, and while we don't want to ignore that, we also want to give people a safe place to just, kind of keep in that joyful, lighthearted spirit. So we thought we would talk about fun things today. Yeah. And in thinking about that too, it's an interesting topic because, having fun and recovery can mean so many different things to so many different people. But it's funny because kind of looking back as a kid growing up, for me, once I started, getting myself into trouble a little bit here and there and started using substances, that really became my kind of jaded idea of fun. I really felt that, that it was a fun thing to, drink or use drugs and then go off and do whatever it was, whether it was bowling or the movies or, parties, whatever it was. That really became my idea of fun for a very long time. And I don't know. I don't know about what it looked like for you growing up, but it's an interesting view of fun.
It was like, yeah, the same idea. When I was a kid, like I used to go outside and play and do all this stuff, at the park or rollerblading. And as I got older and started using any type of substance, that's exactly what it looked like. I would have to do those substances first in order to go do any of the other stuff. Because in my mind, without the substances, it wasn't fun. So it's weird how like you start without that idea and then you introduce the substances. And now, you get this jaded idea, as you phrased it. And now learning again in recovery how to do it without that stuff, Hi, kitties.
I'm glad we got to say hi to the cats.
Anytime I'm sitting here, this is what they do. So
they're on their own agenda.
Yes. But yeah, I think it's, it's hard for a lot of us when we come into recovery to disconnect those two things, Like I can go like those concerts me and you went to last year or whatever, like that was weird for me. You know, beginning of recovery, and I'm walking into a concert where everybody has a beer in their hand and I somehow have to have fun without that. My socially awkward self now has to have fun without it. And I'm like, what do I do?
Right.
But I learned that night, that was one of my first experiences of learning that I can be in those situations. If I'm in the right people and in the right mindset, I can be in those situations and I have more fun, because I remember it the next day. First of all, I can actually be present in the moment and I'm not thinking about where the next thing is coming from or how much I have left to consume or whatever, just exploring that stuff and learning it, changing your mindset.
Yeah. And you made a good point too. You said something that I think a lot of us can relate to, or at least look back in our younger years. Not that we are still young, but we can look back in those early years and really realize that, like a lot of what you said was, I had to be under the influence to feel comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And I think as young kids in general, teenagers and whatnot, we all kind of struggle with that awkwardness. We all want to fit in and be liked. And, it's interesting because even months ago when we were going to speak at the schools, that's still a thing. Like, as I think
Mhm.
it's a human thing, we all want to be liked and to fit in. But for whatever reason, it's like we just grow up and kind of get awkward a little bit, and it's weird. It's weird trying to find a place to fit in. And so looking back, for me, I would do whatever it took to fit in anywhere and everywhere, including jumping on the bandwagon and do every crazy thing that everyone else was doing, because I wanted to be liked, and that was really what was underneath a lot of that. If you wanted me to go 80 miles per hour on a skateboard down the biggest hill in the town, then all right, I'm doing it. If it's going to make me fit in with you, then let's do it. If
Right.
everyone else is, smoking weed to fit in and go here and there, then I'm going to do that too. And I remember feeling there was parts of me inside that really didn't want to engage in that, but I did it anyways. I just so badly wanted to fit in. And you're right. And then, many years later, kind of coming into recovery, it is, so we remove the substances or we remove that, it's almost kind of like this weird blanket cover or comfort, so remove that. And it's like, well, how do I act? What do I say? Who do I talk to? Where do I fit in? It's this awkward stage of like really, finding yourself, but also really being able to create yourself too.
Mhm.
And, really realizing the more I put myself in those uncomfortable situations and put myself out there, the more people I started to meet in recovery who were doing fun things. Um, for many of our followers, a lot of that was introduced as, fun through fitness. When I came into recovery, I was still miserable. I didn't really know what to do with myself. My idea of fun was still going to the bars all the time. And I just thought that that's all right. This is it. This is as good as life gets.
Right.
And, it wasn't until some months later into recovery, until finding Rockcovery, that I didn't understand that there was this whole culture of people that existed, like, going hiking and, having different holiday parties and events, working out and all sorts of things like that, that people were doing sober. And I was like, whoa, I really had no idea that that existed. And that really kicked off, all sorts of this whole different path of, finding new things to do, and finding new people to do it with. And that's one of the great things about like the culture we have at Rockcovery. I don't know. I'm curious, like what your experience with like very early on at Rockcovery was like.
Very early on. My very first experience was going in there.
Yeah.
Because, I got tagged along by Yana to go in there. So I was in there in that big chair in the corner that's just by itself over there. I sat there for hours.
Like this.
Yeah, on my cell phone. I literally have sat there like this, like nobody talked to me. And I just awkwardly watched everything that was going on around me, I didn't want people to talk to me. I mean, people did eventually. Obviously, that's what we do. But, eventually, like, people started introducing themselves to me. And, like, it kept moving forward. Like, I kept going back, started volunteering, and, started watching everybody do all this stuff. So I started to do exactly what you said. Like, I didn't realize that was a thing. I didn't know that people, like, actually could have fun and actually, like, wanted to hang out with each other. We didn't have like motives, to hang out with one another. So I jumped in, and I was invited to jump into a lot of it. Kind suggestions like, hey, why don't you come work out with us? Or, hey, why don't you go on this hike? It was interesting how it happened. Cause when I walked in there, I was that socially awkward human being. I had just come home, first of all, like add that on top of it all, but I'm newly sober. I just came home. I didn't want to look at anybody.
Right.
And then very shortly after that, we went to the Adirondacks. So now here I am in a van with like 8 people that I don't know at all. My roommate that I just met, like, we're going 5 hours away, and I'm going to hike a mountain that, like, you're lucky if I ever walked a trail, at that time. Like, I think I used to, in my using days, I used to walk trails and like smoke weed and stuff, but like actual physical exertion without substances, without a reason in my crazy twisted mind at the time, like Oh my God, it made no sense to me. But, I made awesome relationships on that weekend. And that weekend was like where it all began. I was out there for 3 days with no cell phone service with a group of humans that I had just met. And then I came back and dove right in. I had made friends, just from one weekend, like genuine connections with people because we're walking up mountains and we have nothing better to do but talk to each other,
Yeah.
push each other outside our comfort zones.
Yeah. I always remember you telling that story too. And I really do think, jokes aside, there really is, a power to that, being into recovery very early on. And, there's so many metaphors like hidden deep within that, even just from, the physical exertion of tackling a mountain. You know what I mean? Like that often is what our recovery looks like sometimes, is tackling a mountain. And, just having our friends to continue to sometimes pull us and drag us up the mountain. But, there is support either way. And, like you said, I love that you said, stepping outside my comfort zone and really engaging with people that
I'm sorry about the cat.
Okay. I can see him out of the corner of the video. It makes me laugh. But yeah, like we step outside of those comfort zones and we end up meeting new people. And I think that's where the fun really begins. There's adventure in that. And sure, it is scary and it's a little awkward at first, but there's adventure in, meeting new people and going to new places and trying different things. I think I remember like one of the earlier events that you and I did together. We went kayaking last summer with Rock Recovery, and there was, I don't even know how many of us there were. I don't know.
There was like probably 20, 30, somewhere in that.
It was just so cool. Like this just huge group of people just all, going out kayaking on the Genesee River. And, it's just so cool. I very vividly remember just looking around and seeing everyone laughing and smiles and just having a good time. And that's what it's about. It's being able to truly enjoy those moments and be present in those moments. And like those are some of the gifts that I've gotten in my recovery. And I think I've shared on this before, but something I've learned that someone shared with me a while ago, when we think about back when we were using substances, oftentimes it was to numb out, but I've learned that we don't get to numb out selective feelings. So when I'm numbing out, I'm not just numbing out the bad feelings, I'm numbing out everything. It's not a selective process. You just all out. And it's kind of the same thing in recovery, I've learned too, like, so when we embrace those really uncomfortable, sad, painful moments, to a really deep level, we also get to experience joy to a really deep level as well, joy and happiness. And again, that comes through, continuously putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations and really just facing our fears. And through that, I have found some of the most, joyful moments of spending time and having fun with people in recovery. And, a lot of it is through Rock Recovery, but, a lot of it's my adventures with you and all of our shenanigans. You know what I mean? Like, it's true moments like that, which are just so, those are just some of my like most precious gifts in life. Like I never had appreciation for those things before. But now, like, I love being able to go, like camping and hiking, like sober, First of all, I remember it. Yeah. Second of all, it's a lot safer. Well, slightly safer. I'm still not the most coordinated human, but at least I'm sober doing it. So there's a better chance of me being graceful hiking and walking. So I'm curious, what are some of your favorite activities to do today? Some of your fun in recovery.
My fun. Mainly outside. I like to be out in the woods. I liked anything. It doesn't even matter. Even sitting out in the backyard, anything to do with being outside. But, going on hikes, huge. That's huge for me. Mm-hmm. And like outside of just nature, I guess it would be like reading. I like that. For me, that's fun. Music is huge. Singing and dancing when I think no one's looking, but I'm pretty sure that people are. And it's not like those moments that I was like doing that when I was high and like didn't care if people were looking, like because I was so inebriated and like just making a complete A word of myself. Now it's like I do that stuff in front of people and I don't, I'm okay and I can laugh at myself and enjoy those moments and know that I sound completely insane and off pitch, but I'm enjoying it while I'm doing it, kids have come into the equation for me, and I love like watching all that and being present in those moments. And, like when we have recovery, that's all that for me, being in the gym with everybody with music blasting and we're trying all these crazy different things, hoping to God somebody doesn't drop something really heavy on themselves. Or like me and you, like carrying those weird cage things down the gym, just laughing and joking and stuff like that, and going kayaking and, back to the nature again, out to the woods and, our little garden and stuff like that. I don't know. All these little things that we do as a group, I was like with my family last weekend too. And like, I was outside playing catch with my cousin who's 13 or 14 now. And then a little 3-year-old, and we're like playing catch with a football. And like, I had the time of my life for an hour and a half, like nonsense, just chasing a kid around with a football. I don't know. It's little stuff for me today.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was actually in a meeting the other morning and they did a grapevine reading, but they talked about appreciating like the little tiny things in life, and something so simple as like enjoying a cup of coffee. And it does, it sounds like, okay, well, whatever, it's a cup of coffee, but it's, it's the tiniest little things that, as we move forward in these journeys, this awareness really starts to grow. So it's like when we're doing these things, something, even simple, just having like morning coffee and like taking time to go sit outside and enjoy like the birds and just chill out, put aside work for, 10, 15 minutes before I jump into it, and really just be present and, notice everything that's around me. For me, there's a true joy in that today, in being able to be present. It's so odd to me, like thinking back in active addiction and, thinking like just really realizing like how not there I was, like, you know what I mean? Like there's just this cloudy haze around you all the time. And sometimes you don't know up from down and left from right. And I don't know what day it is now, but it was for a different reason, and it's, so this awareness really just begins to grow. And there's much more of an appreciation for it today. But same thing, like I love being able to go for hikes. I went up to the mountains a couple weekends ago, and, like there's this joy and there's a challenge, and like, facing an actual physical mountain today versus, the stupid challenges I used to look forward to back then. I was, testing my luck with people and things like that. Like, just nonsense behavior that went with that addiction. I'm looking at some of the comments here. Room 9 podcast, that must be our YouTube channel. Someone posted, I used to laugh at myself. In the beginning of my recovery, I did not want to walk anywhere. Then I would think about how I would walk 20 miles in a snowstorm when I was dope sick just to get unsick. And I can, relate to that in a different way of, like any, I didn't care like what the weather was outside or what time of day it was, spending my time at the bars, I was dedicated to that. That was my fun. I had to be there. Those people are going to miss me if I'm not there, just really having zero awareness. And today being more willing to, walk places and, climb mountains and do all the crazy fun things now. But you mentioned too, there's definitely like, there's certain things I really love to go do on my own. Like I'm perfectly happy going for a run or a walk on my own. But then there's other times where this group aspect comes in, and it's a hard thing. We don't necessarily have that right now. And I'm sure that's hard for a lot of other people, especially our members who are very familiar with us and, attend a lot of our events and classes. But just thinking back, I guess now not having it really makes me have much more of an appreciation for, having those things that we did a few months back. I miss the group workouts. I really do. I always used to complain every week. I'm like, I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. I'm not going to do that workout. And no one was making me. But for whatever reason, I just wanted to be there. Like I wanted to see my people, even if it was at the crack of dawn. And, like there was just something so wonderful about starting my day with, not only pushing my physical limits and, trying to take on a new healthy challenge, but doing it with a group of people. And, like you said, the loud music and the dogs are running around and we're laughing and we're being goofy. And, those are some of my favorite things that I truly miss.
It really comes down to like finding people on the same page too, people that enjoy the same stuff. Yeah. And one of the beautiful things that I like about recovery is like we all look so much different. and we all come from such different walks of life, but we find this common ground, like in all of that stuff that we talked about, all the stuff that we've touched on, like the feelings of awkwardness or not sure what to do, or what is fun, we don't even know. We like find that common ground and like journey it together, experience it together. I know for me, like our community in general, recovery as a whole, helped me figure out what I liked and didn't like, kind of led me on that path, and I'm like forever grateful for that. I now am able to the point where I can navigate those waters on my own, but I needed some help in the beginning. I had no freaking clue what, like you said, like what way was up, down, sideways, left, right. I might as well have been a newborn all over again. Like you needed to teach me how to do everything. I'm 30 years old coming into, well, at the time, 20 whatever years old coming into recovery, and I don't know my own name, let alone anything else, trying to learn how to adult again, have fun, like all that stuff. But I think it's great that like we can do it together, and we have each other to kind of do that stuff with and be like, yeah, I liked it, but not for me, or I loved that, let's do it again.
Right.
We have a million people that are right on the same page with us that are like, yeah, like the heck with it. Let's go run that mountain, or let's add 6 more X challenges to this thing, or
all the craziness.
Let's give the dogs yogurt from a cup and watch it all pan out. Like the most random of things that we do. Let's carry this heavy thing for 25 yards.
Right.
It makes zero sense. But, the point is like we find it people that are on that page with us and like want to do the same things, whatever that looks like. There's someone that will be down with you to support you through it. No matter what those fun things look like, in our lives. So it's different for everybody,
Yeah. And even being, it's, there's all the workout classes too. But it's cool because, even if there was something that recovery didn't have, sometimes people would suggest it and then it would become a thing, so then we had yoga and we started adding other meetings there. I know there was a dance class going on there too. And it's, what I mean? It was just so cool to see all of these different things that people came forth and said, like, hey, I'm really passionate about this thing. Like, what do you think? Can we do it?
Yeah.
And that's kind of that gateway to meeting more, like-minded people, right? It's because there's that question very early on of like, well, where do I find these people? Where do I find people that like to do these fun things, without being under the influence of anything? And again, it really just goes back to, stepping outside that comfort zone and really reaching out and talking to people. If I'm sitting in the chair in the corner on my phone, like not engaging for anybody, like how do I meet people? And I think about that too. It took me quite a while to walk into the doors of recovery. Yeah. And it wasn't anything on their part, it was more so just being very fearful of, always worrying about what people are going to think of me. Are they going to like me? Am I going to fit in here? What if I can't keep up with these workouts? And, I think a lot of people come in with that, common misconception of, oh goodness, like I'm not fit enough to be here. But, very quickly I realized that coming in, like it wasn't even about that, because there were so many different people of different fitness levels, that would really just kind of take me under their wing and just say like, hey, this is what we're working on. Here's how you do it. And, people would, Yana and Sean would like take the time to show me that stuff during our workouts. So it really wasn't even about it wasn't this big competitive workout. It was this big group workout that we did together. And we're teaching each other, how to do these movements, and we're all laughing and just having a good time while we're doing it, But yeah, it's, it really comes, down to our part too, of taking that first step of just stepping out. And I think when we bring power and voice to our fears or the things that we're uncomfortable with, like when we put voice to that, sometimes it really helps. It just takes away the power of that. So even just acknowledging, like, speaking up and saying the uncomfortable thing of, hey, I'm new and I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but, I'm happy to be here. Even just putting voice to that really just takes away the power of the fear of that. And, I realized like how embracing, recovery's culture was, just coming in, like how welcoming and how friendly. It didn't matter where you came from or what your story was, like we're all here to just have a good time and, support each other in a safe environment. I mean, like the way you and I even met, we met in one of the early workout classes and, had the awkwardness at first, it's like, oh, how do I friend?
What does that mean?
What is this? but we did, we did the awkward thing of like, finally just start talking and, getting to know each other's stories a little bit and realizing that, while our stories look very diverse, underneath the feelings were very similar. And, like, fast forward a year, I don't know, year and a half later, and, we have this, awesome friendship that was, formed at Rock Recovery, but really has just blossomed into this other thing. And, like, you, Richard, that was weird. Was it this? There's all weird things. We embrace the weird. We love the weird. It's good times here. Isn't this why people tune into us? Because we are weird and we do the weird things. But we can have fun, sober adventures today. Even just something as simple as like riding in the car and riding in the car and listening to music. Obviously it's not something we're doing right now, but something as simple as that, as where in the past, I would have to be under the influence of something to be doing that with my friends, and we weren't having real, genuine conversations. But fast forward to now, like I'm able to just really just enjoy the simple things in life. Like we can make fun out of anything. We can always make it a good time, but what that takes is a willingness to be vulnerable and be our true selves, and just really open up. And like Keirstan said, like not care so much about other people's opinions or worry about what people are going to think of us. You know what? At the end of the day, those people aren't really thinking of you anyways. So,
good point.
Enjoy all the dancing all you want, all the singing out loud, and don't worry about if people are watching, because it doesn't matter, right? Is what matters is that you're feeling true joy and just having fun in those moments.
You keep touching on the thing about stepping outside your comfort zone, and really that one comment that we had from that Room 9 podcast that came from YouTube. He says that like he would walk 20 miles in a snowstorm to get his drug of choice. And like, that was one of my biggest things when I came into recovery. Like what kept me going was like, I would have done almost anything. I did almost anything for my drugs of choice at my worst level towards the end. I did a lot of things that made me question my morals, that I wasn't comfortable with. I didn't like myself for. So I pushed myself outside of those comfort zones to achieve that, So then spinning it and like, okay, so is it worth it to me? Do I want to be sober enough, or do I want to be in recovery enough, or do I want to be a better human being enough? Whatever that looks like for you in terms of recovery. Do you want that end goal enough to push yourself outside of those comfort zones? And you touched on it a million times. Like once I did, the whole world opened up for me, and it really just took me taking those blinders off, And there's ups and downs. There's days that I don't, and I hide in my little shell, and I go downstairs and I watch Netflix, or whatever. But I come out of it. That's the difference today, is I come out of it. I'm able to get up and come out of it and eventually push myself. It might take me a time or two, but I'm able to, and say I need help, or, I really want to join in with this, or, go out and dance randomly with random strangers and just be okay with it, you know? But I think that's like crucial in this, and it is crucial in the fun in recovery. Like we don't know. So when we're coming into it, if we don't push past those comfort zones, we're never going to figure it out. We're never going to find our fun in recovery, because we don't have any idea what it even looks like. All of it is going to be uncomfortable. Every single thing is going to be so uncomfortable, for most of us anyways. I'm not one of those people that's like, yeah, this is great, let me go socialize. No, that's not my go-to. I've gotten to the point where it's a lot easier, but from the get-go, no. Right. I'm hiding in the corner. So
yeah, and that's okay, and we talk about balance sometimes too. Like there are days where I very much need to have a reset and recharge my batteries, and sometimes I need to do that alone. Sometimes that looks like sleeping in a little bit, or watching Netflix, or just really relaxing and letting my body and my mind rest. But like you said, the point is that I don't stay there. I come out of it. I know for me, when I start doing that, even a couple days in a row, for me, that gets a little bit dangerous, but I can recognize that today and say, all right, like I've reset, I've taken my time alone to isolate a little bit. And now I want to come out of that. Like now I need the people. And a lot of people are, probably wondering and saying, well, how do we do that during a pandemic? And, like you're right. It very much has changed. This is not normal life as we know it. And, so what the time really right now forces us to do is to, push outside that comfort zone even more, to get creative even more. It's like, all right, well, I can't necessarily, like jump on in groups of people today. It's, it's not what's being encouraged right now, but, like what other ways can I get connected? Can I still have fun, and can I find new fun, right? There's a joy in getting creative and coming up with new ideas. I can still go for walks and hikes, take trips to different parks, explore new parks. If you are quarantined with somebody, whether it's family or friends, you can spend time with them. And I know Zoom is not the most fun, exciting things, but I know a lot of people are creating Zoom hangouts too. So you can still see all your friends' wonderful faces. And yes, it's not necessarily the same, but it's what we have right now, So, and finding new ways to get creative and have fun at home. Keirstan touched on, being able to read. Like, I enjoy that too. I never really have before, but even something just hanging outside and, just enjoying that sunshine and feeling the warmth on my skin and reading a good book. Like that's, it's enjoyable to me. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge right now, but I think a lot of us are starting to adjust and kind of figure this thing out and, realize like, all right, like we can still create fun. So I'm curious what that looks like for some of you. I know we're about to wrap up here, but I'm curious what some of your fun looks like. What are the things that you've been doing to get creative and have a good time? How are you staying connected to your friends? Do you Zoom call? Do you FaceTime? Like, what is it that you're doing to, create your fun during pandemic life? Because pandemic itself, not so fun, but that doesn't mean my own personal fun has to end. It doesn't mean I have to, be miserable every single day. So yeah. So yes, and I see Danny's commenting in there. So yes, for anyone that is needing to talk again, we posted our peer services hotline right on there. You can also Facebook message us. If you're needing to talk, someone will definitely get back to you. We're here to continue to connect and support you. And I very much miss our group workouts and our group things too. But hoping for someday for those. But yeah, we're still here. So I really appreciate everybody showing up today. And I challenge you all to plan something fun for your weekend. Again, whether it's with the people that you're living with, or if you live alone, what can you do to create something fun and come up with your own ideas? We'd love to hear about them in the next couple of days. Check in with us. And as usual, please stay tuned for the rest of our videos. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right.
I hope everyone has an awesome Thursday and get outside and enjoy that sunshine today. All right. Bye, guys.